Mhm.
Yeah. So primarily, I just wanted to be able to help people out with whatever if they have some comps they need to do. You know,
Mhm.
different weeks I do different things. Sometimes I'll provide a, a particular lesson about how to do certain things, analyze deals or whatever. But other times it's simply just an opportunity to help you comp your deals. So that's what I
Okay.
was planning on doing tonight is just helping people comp their deals. Do you have something that you want me to help you comp?
Mm. Well, I was, let's see, uh, there's some properties I was looking at, and
Mhm.
I have to call these sellers. But no, I just wanted to like run through it and see first, trying to get in touch with the sellers, but
Yeah.
mhm.
So you're not ready yet to actually comp them?
No, not 100%, but
Sure.
like if you had to do the rough comping, like you see, um, this is for like single family. I have some multifamily I'm still looking at also.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Well, if you want to disclose the address, I can help you comp it.
Mm,
If you're not
okay,
comfortable with that, then we can just pick any old address and just go through the exercise to show you how it's done.
okay.
What market are you working?
Texas market, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio,
Okay.
and doing Missouri also because I work with other members of the group. There's four of us. We kind of like do a little camping and thing together, do calling and so on together. And one in Missouri, so we do Missouri
All right.
also. Yeah.
Well, which would you prefer me do an exercise of single family fix and flip comping or multifamily comping?
Oh, single family for now, because I think she might come on also, because I'll give
Okay.
her the link to come on.
And
So
what
we want to do it where we could sort of send out about 3 to 5 leads, 3 to 5 offers a day. That is where we
uh
want to get to.
Sure.
Mhm.
That sounds good. And you pick your market. You tell me which one. I could do Dallas or I could do any other market you want me to do.
Uh, s- uh, yeah, we could do Dallas.
Okay.
We could do Dallas because I have a address here for Dallas.
And are you primarily working like looking for fix and flip homes?
Uh, for wholesaling,
Yeah.
really. Yeah, for fix and flip. Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the filter and I'm going to set it to fix and flip.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell it Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
including surrounding area. Now, when I set it to fix and flip, it's automatically going to give me a slider bar for the ARV. So it's
Mm-hmm.
going to tell me that it's potentially a deal if it's less than 75% of ARV, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's in too good a shape, like 100% of ARV, it's already fixed up, right? There's no need to fix and flip it.
Yeah.
So, 70, 75, wherever you like, I'm going to set this thing to about 70. And that's going to weed out, oh, there we go. It's going to weed out anything that is already in, decent shape, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, instead of active, I'm going to just do the sold. So this will help me to see where are the fix and flips happening.
Mm-hmm.
So if I run the search now, oh, come on. Sometimes Privy gets a little sticky. Let me try this again.
You know.
Oops. What was that?
Okay. Yeah, but that's 6 months.
So let's try this again, Dallas. Include surrounding. I'll do active and sold together first and see if that'll kick it into gear. I'll leave that at 75. All right, come on, let's work. Hello, Cynthia.
Good evening. Going.
Well, this thing is being a little stubborn. So I'm just going to reset the whole thing and start from scratch. Sometimes it
evening.
just gets stubborn. Oops. Hello, Cynthia.
Good evening. How's everyone doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great.
All right. So are you working with Betty, or are you guys two individual investors?
Yes, I work with Betty. We are both from Fortune Builders. JJ's.
Okay. Mhm. All right, so I'm in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So typically what I'll do is I'll come in here, I'll tell it to search Dallas and the surrounding for fix and flip. This thing's being stubborn today. I don't know why. Everything looks like it's set up correctly. I'm gonna hit run search. Come on. Well, the silly thing. Wonder if they're having a server.
Refresh this,
I will try
refresh
refresh.
the screen and see if that will help.
Bam, there we go. Thank you. So this is the actual fix and flips, right?
Mhm.
One thing that I suggest doing, if you know your area, you don't have to do this, but before you actually look at the fix and flips, look at where people are actually renovating. So by doing that, you flip to sold instead of active. And then you run it and it'll show you all. Did I get the sold deals? Yeah, sold. There you go. So this will tell you where the fix and flips are happening. If you zoom in, the bubbles break down a little bit more, so you can see where a lot of the, the bigger, like this area here, it looks like a lot of
Yeah.
stuff is happening, right? So
See the crest?
yeah, Cedar Crest. Yeah. And then you break out, going deeper, and you can see exactly where, like this area here looks like it's a pretty hot area down here. So that's the area that, if you want to like demarcate that area, you can take your little pencil over here and you say, okay, I only want to see stuff in this neighborhood. If it's not in this neighborhood, don't even bother showing it to me. Okay. So now you know where you're going to be, and maybe even on this side of Lancaster, not sure. It looks like this is the real prime area, right? I don't want to make it too small yet, but to me, it looks like between, what is this, Sunnyvale and Lancaster is like prime area for fix and flipping. So now that I know that, I'm going to change my filter from sold to active. There's other things you can do with your filters to narrow down your list. And I'm just going to run it as is first and see what pops up. So these are the different properties that it shows me their potential fix and flips in that area. And looking over here, I can just take a peek and see a boarded window, right? So that's definitely a fix and flip opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It was only listed 14 days ago. The challenge you'll have with a property like this is that everybody will be looking at the new listings. Doesn't mean it's not a deal, but you might have to, there's two ways of going about it. Number one, you get them right when they hit the market. So you're one of the first ones and you're able to snag up a good price. Or number two, you wait for a little while so that they're feeling the stress of, okay, it's not working where my price is at, right? In this case, they
Mhm.
already did a price drop. So that's good. So it looks like they did a $10,000 price drop. So
Mhm.
that's a good sign. So the first thing I do is I just kind of get an idea. Number one, is this a potential fix and flip? Well, just seeing the boarded window tells me yes, this is a
Yes.
potential fix and flip. It's a 3-2. Everybody wants a 3-2. That's perfect. 1956 square feet. You know, it's a good size. It's in that area. I can see on the map, this is the exact area that, you know, that we're looking to get into. So this is a prime opportunity for a fix and flip. Now, if you're doing wholesaling, that's what you're generally doing, is looking for fix and flip houses for the ones that are doing the flips, right? So the next thing is to come down here and kind of get a feel of the property. You can look at the pictures and you can look at the description to kind of understand what sort of shape is this thing in, what's it going to take more or less to get the job done. So I like to categorize fix and flips. They're either going to be, you know, if there's very little work done that needs done, I call it a lipstick. So you're basically just doing paint, mowing the lawn, prettying it up. Those are kind of hard to find that actually have enough money to make it worthwhile. Are they there? Yeah, but they're harder to find. The next level is a cosmetic. A cosmetic is going to be a little bit more than a lipstick. So with a cosmetic, you'll probably replace the flooring and you'll do some painting. But you're not going to do countertops. You're not going to do cabinets. It's going to be a lighter, cheaper job.
Mhm.
The next level up is your basic fix and flip. And that's where the bread and butter is. That's where most of the deals are that fix and flippers are looking for, because they can usually pull a little bit more profit out of it with their basic fix and flip without it being too heavy and too risky. That's like what most people want. So the basic fix and flip, they're going to redo the countertops. They're going to redo the cabinets. They're going to redo the
Bathrooms.
fixtures. What was that?
The bathrooms.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
You know, replace that old tub, put in a nice shower, all that good stuff. But they're not, in a basic fix and flip, they're typically not going to do anything like take out supporting walls and putting in beams, the bigger, heavier jobs. It's going to be, you know, they might divide up bigger spaces and create another bedroom, but they're not going to move plumbing. They're not going to do a lot of heavy lifting that, you know, if it requires permits, if it requires a longer timeline and a heavier, you know, more of a heavier budget, that goes into the next category of a gut. So the way I break it out is lipstick, cosmetic, basic, gut, and teardown. So when you do a gut, now you can totally rechange your walls, you know, where your walls are at, move your kitchen, put in an extra bathroom, all the good stuff, right?
Mhm.
But that's more expensive and it typically requires permits and it's going to take your timeline out further. So those are a little bit more risky, and the number of buyers that are doing those are less in the current market that we're in. Not as many buyers are doing the guts and the teardowns. They're still out there, they're just not as many. So your best bet is to look for a basic fix and flip. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so checking out this property here. Well, I do see some brickwork issues happening. I don't know what's going on this wall, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's out, but it might potentially be more than your basic, but I'm going to keep looking at it.
Mhm. Look like it have a foundation issue there.
It very well could be a foundation issue. Again, I'm seeing,
Oh,
yeah, a lot of issues here. It looks like there might be on the inside of the brick another layer, like they put a brick layer on the top of something else.
mm,
Not 100% sure. Going on the inside,
whoa.
yeah, this is going to be probably a gut.
Yeah, full gut.
Yep. Doesn't mean it's out, but it
Mhm.
means you got to get the deal cheaper, and you know you got to get a buyer that's happy to do a gut. The cheaper the deal, the more likely you're going to get a buyer. Make sense?
Mhm.
All right. So now that we know what we're looking at, you know, basically we're looking at a gut.
Mm.
Then I'm going to come down here, TLC, TLC needed. It looks like a little more than TLC, right?
That's more than TLC.
Yeah. Investor special, great flip, vacant and ready to quick close. All right. And it didn't really tell us a whole lot. So now I'm going to go over here and look at the comps. So it automatically will filter for the half a mile around your house. It puts a half mile square around your house. You want to try to stay within a half mile if possible. And you also want to not cross major roads. The idea behind both of those is that you stay in the same quote unquote neighborhood. So crossing a street could be a totally different neighborhood, right? Like this Kia street looks like a pretty major street. And you might have properties on one side valued way different than properties on the other side. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So, and also the further away you go, the more likely that the property values will differ. That's why Privy does this half a mile block around you. So I'm only going to be looking at sold. I don't look at active ever, because active is not a real value. And pending, not typically, nor under contract. The challenges with those is you don't know what the price they're undervalue at or under contract at. You don't know the price they're pending at, right? All you know at that point is the listing price.
Mhm.
So 305, it might be under contract for 200. So how are you going to use the 305 number? It doesn't make sense, right? So you can just delete these by clicking the eyeball thing, and it takes it off of your map so you don't even see them. I like to do that. You know, it's an extra step that you really don't have to do. You can just leave them there because you have multiple buttons, and I just want to look at the sold. So now that I've narrowed it down to the 5 best options, which are the sold ones, it's going to automatically try to only give me the ones that match when it comes to the size of the property and other things that are relevant. So with the size, the subject property is 1,956 square feet. I don't want anything that's way bigger or way smaller. So what is way bigger or way smaller? It kind of depends on the size of the house. So if you're looking at a 900 square foot house, 300 square feet is a big difference, right? 900 to 600 is significantly smaller. 900 to 1200 is significantly bigger. But if you're dealing with a 2000 square foot house, 300 square feet is not that much. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mhm.
So this is a 2000 square foot house. I'm happy to go 300 square feet over or under. And looking at this, all of these is within that 300 square foot range. So I'm not going to delete anything based on square foot. Does that make sense?
Okay. Makes sense.
Now, you notice this says 1,000 right here. but underneath it, it says 1880.
18.
You
Yeah.
know what that means?
Yeah, they increased the size of the property.
Yeah, somebody
They
did
add
fix
on, they did add on to it, yeah.
right. So they fix and flipped it. They bought it at 89,000. They sold it at 350,000.
Yeah, because they add 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms.
It went from a 2-1 to a 4-3, right? So that's a major improvement. Ours is a 3-2. It has 1,900 square feet. Is there room to put in a 4th bedroom? Yeah, you know, if you're gonna do a gut, it might make sense at that point to go ahead and make this a 4-2, right? So I wouldn't be afraid to compare this with a 4-2 because it's a gut job. If it's a basic or a cosmetic, I wouldn't compare it to a 4-2 because you're not going to put in a 4th bedroom probably. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay, good. All right, so now that I know that, I see over here, I'm going to sort this by other fields and get rid of things that are not comps. Starting with the build. When was it built? Ours is 1950. Anything built after 1979, 80 does not compare to a 1950. And it's different materials. You know, in 50, you might have to deal with asbestos and lead paint. It's not modern materials and it's not modern anything. So down here, this is a 2021. This is a
Three's out.
2022. Those are out. So I'm going to hide them with a little eye thing here. And now I'm down to just 3 properties. But again, I want to check out, you know, the days sold, days, you know, when it's sold makes a difference because older properties, they might have sold at a higher value than more recent properties, right?
Hmm.
August, it's getting out there for age. That's like almost, what is that? That's like almost 6 months old, right? So can we use this? We can use this as a comp, but we'll have to devalue it because the market has changed since August. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the
Makes
only one.
sense.
Yeah, this is the only one marked as a fix and flip. You see how it's stacked. So
Yeah.
as a fix and flip, it went from $88 per square foot up to 186.
186.
Right. This one is not marked as a fix and flip. We don't really know if it is or not until we actually take a peek at it. So I'm going to do that now and see if this is really a fix and flip, if it's a comparable. It needs to be in pretty much retail state. And, you know, looking at that, it looks like they didn't quite finish it up.
Finish it.
Yeah, it's definitely a fix and flip. It looks like they didn't quite wrap up the job though, right? So it's a fix and flip where they sold it
Unfinished.
unfinished so someone else can wrap up the job. So what that means is basically it's not going to sell for full price because it's not done, right? So what I'm going to do, this is at 151. So we know our price is valued higher than 151 because this is not done.
Mm-hmm.
This one sold at 186. This one sold at 216. I'm going to take a look at this one too and get a feel of what this looks like. And okay, so this could be one of 2 things. You know, it doesn't show any pictures except 2. That might simply be that it's not fix and flipped, but it could also mean that, oh, let me just go back here again. It could also mean that Privy is simply not getting the data for that. So I'm going to Google that address. And once I Google it, I can see all the main sites, right? Zillow, I'm going to open that up. Realtor.com, open that up. Trulia. The top ones for that market are, you know, I typically go to the tops, but there's also Redfin. I like Redfin. So now that I have those, I'm going to take a peek at them and see if they have pictures. So Zillow does not have pictures. Realtor does not have pictures. No pictures. Now that looks way different. Did it get the right house?
Hmm.
No,
Yeah,
it
that
didn't.
look different.
It's a different house. So 1906 jumped to 1916. Okay, here we are. And again, no pictures. So that probably was not a fix and flip because there's no pictures on any site. However,
I think the only one
interestingly,
fix and flip is the
was that?
I said we have one fix and flip, the one for 350.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But regardless, this thing sold for top dollar. It sold for $216 a square foot,
Mhm.
371K. So what does that tell us? You know, even though it wasn't a fix and flip, it sold at really high price tag.
Mm.
So I am totally good with using this. If I sort by dollar per square foot, the middle one was the fix and flip. The other two are newer, but they still are holding their value. So I'm just going to go with 186 per square foot. And that's how I like to do it personally, is take the price per square foot and get out my calculator, multiply 186 times the square foot, which is 1956.
1956.
So what'd you come up with for value?
Yes, sir.
What'd you get for your value?
196 by 186. 363,816.
Yep. So we'll call it 364. So that's the comp for this one. I call it 364 is your after repair
Pay
value.
value.
Yeah. So the next step after that, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either take out the repairs first, or you can take out the percentage for carrying costs, for closing costs, for profit margin, and come up with where your max allowable offer will be. So most people do the 70% rule. The 70% rule means you take that number that we just came up with and multiply it by 0.7. Oh, I've forgotten to shut down my calculator. What was that number?
363.
364, right?
81, yeah, or 364, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to times 0.7, and that gives me, what did you guys come up with?
254, 671.
Yeah. So now that's your number before the rehab costs. So now we have to come up with the rehab costs. This is a gut. So do any of you know the number you use for gut? Multiply it by square foot. What's the dollar per square foot to do a gut job?
80.
What?
80, 80.
80. So
Mhm.
I don't know Dallas. Quite typically, I'll use 60 for a gut, but it might be that Dallas is 80. So if that's the case, that's exactly what you use. And every market's a little bit different on its, the labor cost, the material cost. So if you're dealing with California, it's super expensive, but we'll go with the 80. I usually use 60, and then for a tear down, I use 80, but we'll go with the 80. Anybody else here from Dallas and know the answer? Is you agree with the 80? All right, we're gonna stick
But
with
this
that.
one is a full gut, not so?
Yeah, so the numbers
Yeah,
I
so-
use 15 for a lipstick. I use 20 for a cosmetic, 40 for a basic, 60 for a gut, and 80 for a teardown.
Or 80 for the tear down.
Yeah.
Mm.
But you know, every market is going to be a little bit
Okay.
different. So I can't definitively say what it's going to be here. But we'll go with that 80. So if we take the 80 and multiply it by the square feet, what do you come up with?
One 156, 480.
156. Yeah. Mhm. So now you subtract that from the number you just had. The number you had was 254.8, right? Or 254.6.
254, 671.
Yeah. So 254 minus 156 is what?
Or you do it 254
Yeah, 254, which was our
minus
price.
156.
Yep. What'd you come up with?
98,000.
98.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's your max allowable offer. So they want to sell this thing for 169. What does that tell you?
No deal, because I guarantee they ain't going down that low.
Yeah.
So they might have to do it on their own.
Yeah, they're not going to go that low for something that's not on the market very long. I'm going to rerun these numbers with 60 per square foot instead of 80. I might be
Yeah.
wrong, but I just kind of feel like the 80 is a little bit heavy. Like it's not
Okay.
really going to cost 80. I could be wrong,
Okay.
but so if I did
Well, we
1956
do it with the 60.
times 60, yeah. So that's 117, right?
Yeah, 117.
Yeah. So if you take the 254 minus
360.
254 minus 117,
254 minus 117. 136, 640.
137 is what I got.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you got? 137?
Yeah, 136, 640. So you could just say 137.
Yeah. So that's the number that I personally would come up with as a max allowable offer. Not knowing, not doing any fix and flips and not knowing the market there that well, that's what I would come up with. That's, you know, that's a little bit closer to the 169
That's what you would come up with as your
as your max
maximum
allowable
offer.
Yeah.
And then you add your price into it for your
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's
cash
the one
buy.
thing I didn't mention is subtracting out your wholesale fee. So, you know, typically I use 15, but whatever number you feel comfortable with. So 137 minus the 15, that gives you 122. That I forgot that step. Thank you. That would be my max level offer is 122. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Hey Lee, good to see you out there.
Mhm. Okay.
Are you, Ralph?
I'm doing all right. I've been sick, but on the mend, doing a little better.
Good to hear that.
Thank you, man. Good to see your happy face.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to show you another strategy you know, this is the MAO, the max allowable offer, right? 122. Another strategy that people do, and it's a different approach, and basically it's setting the bar, anchoring it at a low price tag that they have it valued at 169. So they might think that it's worth more than it really is, right? Based off of its condition, based off of the comps, it's not worth 169 as is. So you have to kind of bring them back to reality. And bringing them back to reality is kind of a process. So if it's really worth 122 and they want 169, that's a huge gap. So if you tell them 122, if you tell them your max allowable offer, they're going to want to negotiate higher. And they're not going to feel happy if you can't negotiate because you already gave them your max. Does that make sense? So what you want to do is give them a price below your max that gives you room to negotiate. So that in the end, they feel like they've at least negotiated to a price that, you know, is better than what you put out the door initially. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So one of the methods is called go for no. You want to give them a price you know will be turned down, with the idea that you're going to request a counter offer after that. So the go for no method, basically you want to do, you take your starting point. The starting point was 364, right? Instead of multiplying it by 0.7, just subtract out your rehab costs up front. So the rehab cost was 117. So if you take that, the 364 minus 117, you come up with 247. Now, instead of doing the 70%, you do a 50%. You just cut the thing in half. So you divide by 2, and you end up with 123. And then at 123, now you subtract your fee of 15. And so I'm at 108. So my low ball offer is 108, which is, you know, that's significantly lower than what I said before of your max allowable offer at 122. The idea behind that is you don't have to go deep into the numbers and calculate it out really tight. It's easy math. You know, you just take your after repair value, subtract out your rehab cost, and cut it in half and take out your fee. It's a back and napkin low ball offer. You're going for a no. So when you give them the offer of 108, what are they going to say? No, right? But the only way to make the no, the go for no work is you have to build some rapport with them. So if you're just another low ball offer, the go for no method does not work. You have to spend a little bit of time, talk to the agent, or if you're direct to seller, talk to the seller, and you know, let them feel like you're a human being. Let them feel like you're a decent person, and then help them to understand your numbers a little bit. You know, this place is a mess. There's a lot of risk. This is a 1950 home. It's going to have, you know, I might have to redo electrical. I might have to redo plumbing. I might have to worry about asbestos, you know, water damage, mold. This place could be a nightmare. And the market's also rough. So that's why I have to, you know, make an offer. You understand, right, that my risk is really, really high in this property. So when you help them to relate to your story and you already related to their story, you're building rapport. Now it's a human being talking to a human being. And then you give your offer and then they're like, no, I instead of like, he's just another lowball offer. Now they're compelled to say, I really can't do 108. It's just a little bit low for me. So then you come back with your counter. So requesting the counter is imperative. So now you come back and say, well, what can you do? And you let them give you the counter. So you're going for the counter offer. Does that make sense? But you set the bar so low now. Instead of their 169, you set you anchored it in at 108. Huge difference. So now their counter offer is not going to be, if their counter offer is 150, 160, it's still a no deal, right? Then you basically say, well, it doesn't look like, you're going to be able to go low enough to where I need to be. So, how about we just keep in touch? Or maybe there's another thing we can do on this to make it work. But as is, if they're just dropping a small amount, not anywhere near where you're at need to be, then you know that they're probably not motivated enough, right? So then you can move on, but keep the realtor in your pocket, keep the communication up, because what you want is that if you keep communicating with that realtor, they're going to bring you pocket listings. So you're building a referral network, an agent referral network. Even if this house doesn't work out, you're building that network. Does that make sense? I'll say yes.
Yes, make full sense. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I'm hearing crickets out there.
I have some noise in the background. That's why I keep
Yeah. But there are other things that could potentially make a non-deal into a deal. If it's a fix and flip, the typical way you might, tighten that gap a little bit is through a novation agreement. So a novation agreement basically allows you to pick it up at a higher price tag because you don't have to do a double closing, for one, but primarily because whoever's going to fix and flip it doesn't have to use hard money for the actual price of the property the whole time they're repairing it. So instead of them pocketing, going to a hard money lender for the purchase price of, let's say that you end up getting it for 122, the purchase price you have to pay basically like two points up front, 2% up front, plus another percent every month. So that adds up significantly. With a gut job, you're looking at, a 6-month job. So you're looking at, 8%, maybe even 10% of the purchase price is going to go to your hard money lender. So if you're doing 122, so you're looking at like $12,000 is saved through the novation agreement, plus the savings of the double close. We'll just call it 12K. So that means that if they're not willing to go down to 122, you could actually close this thing for potentially 12K higher on a novation agreement. Does that make sense?
Okay. Oh, I'm not familiar with innovation, but from
Okay.
what
should
I've heard
explain that.
before is like that's where the seller and you come into agreement in fixing it jointly.
Well, what it is basically you agree with the seller to sell it at a specific price after you fix it. So they don't sell it to you until after it's fixed, but you're able to go in, you secure the house with a purchase and sell agreement. You secure it with a lien on the property so that once you're done with the fix and flip, then you execute the PSA, the sell agreement. So let's say that you bought it you know, if the novation agreement was for 12K over the 122, now you're at 134. So you have a PSA at 134, you do your fix and flip, and then after it's fix and flip, you sell it at the ARV. Does that make sense?
Okay,
So it's a way of squeezing a deal, making a deal out of something that wouldn't have been able to to be a deal
Okay.
otherwise. And it's a way of beating out your competition. So, you know, if all the other competition's at 122 and they're saying no, no, no at 122, they've heard that number before, you know, maybe 125, maybe 120, but they're hearing that ballpark, you know, the range of numbers are over there and they're saying no. Now you come in higher, you say, you know, everyone else is giving you the same, you know, if I gave you a lowball offer, it'd be, you know, if I gave you my investor number, it's going to be 122. And you probably got that number already and you probably said no, correct? And they'll give you the feedback. And then you say, but there is a way I can pay you more. And this is how we do it. So you basically make an opportunity out of something that wasn't an opportunity.
okay. Good. That's a good second option.
Yeah.
It's a good second option. Yeah.
Yeah. With a property like this that's way overpriced, what I would
Yeah.
typically do is, you know, this is only 14 days on market, right? If I remember right.
Mhm. This looked like it was a rental and probably the tenant destroyed it.
Maybe. Could be, yeah. But I would you know, talk to the agent, build that rapport, feel them out. And if they're not ready to drop much in price, keep in contact with the agent. You want the agent to know your number because they're gonna drop in price. You know, it's a wasteland. They can't do anything with this house until they drop in price. So just wait. You know, if they're not ready to go down even to an ovation price tag, just keep in contact with the agent and let them know, you know, when they're ready to move this, give me a call. And then you don't just wait for their phone call, you call them back.
Mhm.
So 2 weeks later, hey, just checking up on that house. You know, have they thought about dropping the price yet? What's going on? Call them up 2 weeks later, every 2 weeks, until they're ready to move it. Make sense?
Yeah, make lots of sense.
Cool.
I like that.
um,
I appreciate it here.
yeah,
Thank you so much for the help here.
my pleasure.
And what's the okay, the address? What's the seller's number? The seller's number, they have it further down.
Well, this is an agent, right? So you want to find the agent's number, and yeah, there is typically, let me see if I can find it real quick.
There.
I get lost in all this stuff.
I think it had the seller number there. But it said there to call the seller to give the offer.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Listing office phone is right here.
You say, please call seller for access information or offers at the air.
Okay, so this might be a realtor investor. It's an active property, which means it's listed with an agent, but it says to call the seller for access and they give the seller number. Agents don't typically give the seller number.
Mhm.
That's not normal.
Unless there's the agent.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously they feel comfortable giving the number. So either the seller is the agent or, you know, the agent feels really comfortable with their arrangement with the seller.
Okay.
But yeah. So you got the listing office number, you got the seller's number.
Just now.
But
The
you know,
listing agent number.
I would call the agent and find out more information about the house and you know, who's, if this is a, you know, the investor is an agent or what's going on with that, and then find out where they're at on pricing. You can already see it's a mess. get the story behind the house. You know, what happened to this place? It's a disaster. Try to get a feel
Mhm.
of the story behind it. And that's part of the rapport building too. Listen to what the agent says, you know, him or her, and comment on it. Make it a two-way conversation. Build that
Mhm.
rapport. And then tell your story, right?
Yeah.
So let them tell the house story, tell their own story. You tell your story, what you're planning on doing with it. Build that rapport. Then you make your offer.
They say TLC needed. That need more than TLC.
Yeah, yeah,
Way more than TLC.
yeah. It's a little bit of a mess. All righty. Well, I've got time for a little bit of Q&A before the hour is up. I do have to leave at 9. Anybody have any questions, or if you want me to take a quick peek at another property, I can do that.
Hey Ralph, this is Angela Chamberlain. I just joined this week as a PF, and I was having a kind of a hard time connecting with Alex, and just had a real quick question about just preferred marketplace. I did watch some of your videos, and I know your comments about North Carolina being kind of less favorable of a marketplace for
Oh,
on-market deals.
yeah, for on market.
Um,
Yeah,
Yeah, but for off-market, it's okay.
yeah, it's great
Um,
for off market. It's better than
yeah, and I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on where where you or the team or would like for us to focus on which marketplaces. And I know from your previous, it was, I believe, Dallas, Jacksonville, and Atlanta. And I was wondering if that's still the case, or if you're
That's
looking.
right. It's not necessarily the case. You know, we picked Dallas and Jacksonville and Atlanta specifically for where we have dispo people, because it makes it easier to dispo, right? But we've kind of broadened it out now and found that it's really not that bad to dispo anywhere. Finding the buyers is not hard if the deal is right. So where are you located, Angela?
I'm in Raleigh.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Mhm.
Do you want to do off market or on market?
I've been using Privy to find on market.
So you can do on market in Raleigh or in North Carolina. The challenge with North Carolina is the non-refundable due diligence.
Yeah.
So you have to work with agents that understand what we're doing and are okay with not doing a non-refundable due diligence. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So you can definitely do that. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge to work with those agents. I would suggest that you either do another state on market or you do North Carolina off market.
Off market. Yep. Okay.
And where you go, you know, there's a lot of good opportunities. You could go to Jacksonville, Tampa, Memphis, Dallas, Fort Worth. You know, Indianapolis is another good market. So if you haven't been working any other markets already, use one of those markets. Those are all good markets.
Okay. Perfect. That's plenty to work with. Thank you.
You bet. And if you have trouble connecting with somebody, just let me know and I can look into it to try to troubleshoot that problem, okay?
Okay. And one additional question is, should I be expecting to have a conversation with an AM, or just continue using the intake forms for now when we're finding leads? I just looking for some guidance on the onboarding process for the PFs.
Sure, yeah. Let me get with Alex and see where that's at. You know, before we had PFs specifically under an AM. And with that arrangement, the AM kind of guided them, and that was the go-to person. But we took down those walls so that any AM could work with a property. So now, when you put it into the system and it goes into the particular column that it's ready to be underwritten, or you need help, and an AM should be able to pick it up, and they'll get paid for it no matter where it's at. If they do the underwriting and they help you through the process, they'll get paid for that job. But I don't know, this is a brand new system. So I need to get with Alex and make sure of the flow and make sure that's happening. Alternatively, if you know any of the AMs, if you already have an established relationship with them, you can simply call them up and say, hey, can you be the AM on my deal in our system, right? And then they're already queued up, and they'll pick that up and mark it as their own. They'll underwrite it. They'll help you through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And let me get with Alex and figure out what's going on as far as, with the new setup. I know he got the Kanban all set up, and I just want to make sure that it's everything is flowing. And that, have you put any of the properties into the system yet, Angela?
I did one yesterday.
Has it moved?
Yes, it has. It moved. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know
Mhm.
which AM picked it up?
I have no idea.
Okay. So give me a call tomorrow morning. We'll
Sure.
take a peek at it and see what AM picked it up. And, they should contact you. You guys should be in, close contact once they pick it up, because they're going to be helping you underwriting it and going back
Okay.
to be able to close the deal.
Yeah, I took a look at the notes, and it looked like they had left a message with the agent. And so it was being worked on.
Okay.
And then my last question is, for the filters in Privy, was there a preferred number of days on market for the
So,
on-market deals?
right. Here's the deal with giving out a number. If I tell you the preferred number is 90 days on market, everyone's going to set it to 90. Everyone's going to do the same thing, right?
Mhm.
And now all of a sudden you're competing with everybody.
Okay, fair enough.
So the idea behind aging it is that you give them time to realize that the price tag they have it listed at is not working. There's advantages to going longer, and there's advantages to going shorter. So if you go 60 days, that's enough time for them to realize, and you beat out the people that are going to 90 days. You jump on it before they get there, right? Whereas if you go 120 days, now you've given them more time to feel the pain. So the people that did the 90 and they said no, now you're coming in at the 120, they might reconsider that.
Mhm.
So there's no magic number. There's
Okay.
strategies to longer and there's strategies to shorter. And what I talked about a little bit earlier is, if you come in early like this, it's probably not going to work now, but it might work later. So you grab the report, you get this realtor into your referral network, and then you keep following up, and hopefully they know your name, so that when they are ready to change the price to something realistic, you're the one they're going to talk to.
Sure.
And
Thank
as you're following up every 2 weeks, you're getting the feel of where they're at still.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Well,
there's
thanks.
strategies for doing it early, the strategies for doing it in the middle, and the strategies for doing it late. I can't really give you a magic number.
Yeah, just got to kind of work through it on your own and see how it works.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, there's, some people will swear by 45. Some will swear by 90. Some will swear by 160, because you're almost, ready to retire the listing.
Right. Yeah.
But
All
and
right.
then
Well,
some will swear by like getting it on day 1 or day 2, right? All those strategies are good. And I suggest trying out a variety of them, but knowing what your strategy is, not just jumping in with a magic number.
mhm. Thanks, Ralph.
You bet. All right, it is 9. I'm gonna have to pull the plug. Any more questions before I pull the plug that I can give a quick answer to? Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it, and I hope it was helpful for everyone.
Thank you very much, Ralph. I
Thank you, Ralph.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Ralph.
It very was helpful.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Night, night. Good night, everyone.